Okie dokie dokie doke. Okie dokie dokie doke. Okay. I have. You know, I could move these things and have them a little closer to here. And ponder what I want to work on out loud. Because I'm kind of pondering what I want to do. I'm not sold on one thing or the other thing just yet. I'm still kind of thinking it through. I'm really glad that everything decided to disconnect and reconnect for me as well. So, we will be starting in 3, 2, 1. And because it's vertical, I have to push the button specifically. Push the buttons, push the buttons, push the buttons, push the buttons. What do? We push the buttons. We push the buttons. And I want to slide my anti-fatigue mat out so I can stand upon it. All right. So what do I want to work on is the question. I have a great number of things on my desk that I can work on and work on trying to wrap up and finish on some. So I have this fun guy. What is your deal? I'm not opening the front window. It is way too freaking cold for that right now, and I don't feel like doing that. So I've got him. I've got these two, which I was playing with skin tone on, that I could also work on finishing up and wrapping up. I have a gaggle of mouselings that could use some attention in TLC as well to get to a finished state. Mr. Owlbear has been coming along as well, so we'll see what we want to do with him. He's looking kind of nice. I've got Bones Lavania, Gus, which I might keep paired with him, simply because they're sharing a lot of the same color palette. So we'll see. I think these two are going to be on the outskirts of things right now. And I think what I want to focus on, or work on for the next couple of hours, is maybe work on this guy a little bit as well and wrap him up all the way. Because there's some bone stuff that I can play with that I was holding off. Nope, I'm going to put him with that guy because I don't want to deal with bone right now. These two in skin tone. So these three share a lot of the same blues and yellows. And I can play with some gold non-metallic metals. The mouselings could be fun just because I can bring out something like orange and yellows. And I could use some of the non-metallic triads here as well, along with the blues on this guy. Because then these three become friends at the end of the day. And we all need friends, right? So I think that's going to be the goal, is I think I'm going to work on all 5 of these and swap them around as time goes on. Yep, I think that's a solid and worthwhile goal. So I am going to prepare Senior Wet Palette. clean off the wet palette, I usually just wipe off. I usually hyper wet it the night before or when I'm done. And then we can just kind of slowly remove the colors. And if I need to get more, I can take a little squirt bottle that I have here for cat protection. That's not going to work the way I want it to work. And get my big bottle of water. Get my wet palette all wet again. And we will dry it off. So I can tell you right now, the Star Bright, really cheap paper towels, not super great. Not super great at all. So, okay. From my last foray into these guys, I still have everything out on my palette. I was using for the blues on these three. It was definitely blue, black, sea blue, and then I need a blue to brighten it all up. Or a way to start brightening it up. I don't want it to be green. I could use this fallen grass, which seems weird, but this is a very, very blue tone in general. Another option would be to use the cobalt blue green to help start highlighting up different bits of their clothing that they're wearing. And I see some things that I need to clean up immediately on her. So I'm going to load her onto the handle first. And slide the other stuff off. So that would cover these threes. And then their cloak can match up as well. Move my trash can to the side. Hello. You're okay. So now the question is, what do I want to do for these golden colors? So this on him I'm going to call complete. Really what I'm trying to do is get to an ending point. But his cobalt blue green underpiece can use fallen grasses kind of to help shadow it, along with the cobalt blue green. Or really he was sea blue to start with. I can introduce some cold yellow or warm yellow. And I think that's what I want to do. I want to grab something a little bit warmer instead of cold. So the warm yellow will help deal with a couple of other ideas. Also, I could grab, I might need warm yellow, no, put warm yellow up. I could grab my Sunray and use it as one of these two to help highlight the cobalt blue in terms of a warm color, which I could use as well on a lot of the golden type pieces that I was going with on her. So I want to grab a dark ochre. And and a yellow ochre. And these three will help make up the base of my dark, or let me put it in view. These three will help make up the base of my gold non-metallic metal. They can work on her that's there. I can clean up some of the staff as well if I wanted to. And that way, I kind of minimize what I have on my palette. Because this is the only palette that I really want to have out right now, and I don't want to get a bunch of stuff intertwined. You're okay. You're A-okay, sweetheart. Oh, I forgot. I need to like my own post really quick. You're okay. You're okay. Do you want me to move this out of the way? So, is the reason why you're so frustrated with me, Cat? No, I'm not opening that window. It's too freaking cold outside. It is too cold outside to have that window open. One of the reasons why you're so flustered is that I don't have a proper bed for you. Yesterday it was 70 degrees outside. It's different. Today it's 40 degrees. I'm not opening the window. Okay. I will lay out her bed and hopefully that helps. So, excuse me. We are going to start mixing up our paint really quick. Okay. Sorry about that. I figured I'd mute the mic while I let the Vortex mixer work. All right. So let's start getting our colors on the palette and figuring out what we're going to work with and how we're going to work with it. So we're going to take blue black first. We're going to put it on the upper left. Sea blue after that. Morning sky. And then cobalt, blue green after that. On the bottom side, we're going to take the dark ochre and put it down there. Then we're going to take our yellow oxide and have a spot for it right there. Followed by warm yellow. Which may or may not need to be mixed more. And then we can take sunray. With these handful of miniatures, or these handful of colors, that's what I'm going to utilize on all of these today. For right now. I am going to deal with the skin tone at a later time. I think the skin tone is important to work with when I'm doing other things at the same time. So I'm going to take the blue black and some of my sea blue, mix them together, and I noticed at the bottom of her dress it needed some more additional paint. Apparently I was not thin enough when I originally did it, and it did not get full coverage and opacity, or I believe I was having issues with hydrostatic hinting for some reason. But we can always fix it because we can add more thin coats. All right. So I'm noticing that the coat that I'm using should be more in the blue-black range than it was in the sea blue range. So once I get that initial base coat down, I can always adjust it with a darker color. You're never locked into what you're doing unless you're painting insanely thick. I really do want to get her ruffles in a very different color. I know they're really hard to see right now, but as we start to highlight them up, it will start to become more and more relevant and interesting. That is one color I do want to have on my palette, though, that I did not originally put in. And it is this golden brown. So, golden brown is going to kind of go right there. Because golden brown plus this dark ochre is going to start being the base of the leather material going on underneath it. I want this color. I want to get to the edge of her sleeve. Get underneath it. So, we're going to let that slide to the side a bit, and I want to pick up my little mouseling here. This mouseling has a lot of crazy fun details sculpted into it. I want to take the blue-black I want to get the front of their cloak, and then I want to get the back side of the cloak as well. So, one of the things that could be very interesting for this miniature is something that someone suggested when I was painting one of the other mouselings, is to use a burgundy color for the skirt on the little bit of the shirt that's shown. And I think that'll be a really nice pop of color and give a really Roman-esque like feel, which will be cool. I think that'd be relatively cool. Look for this little mouseling. I want to grab a bigger brush though, because I'm about to do something much larger. I'm going to take my dark ochre here, and I'm going to base coat their flame in this dark ochre. Have I ever done fire this way? Nope. Are we going to try something and see what happens? You sure betcha we are. Alright, so this playlist that I'm listening to is apparently all pop. Alright. I need to lower my desk and sit down. My back is not happy right now. Okay. So now that I'm back, I am going to continue with this blue for a second. And I am going to really enforce it on this cloak. Okay. So, since I did that really quick, I can do some dark ochre on the flame piece. And I want to take some of the golden brown and dark ochre again, and I want to hit the wooden piece of the handle. I will definitely need to find a way to separate those two in due time. Okay. So I'm going to let him hang out and dry for a little bit. I'm going to switch over to the more browny bits in the non-metallic metals that I want to start chasing for, and where I'm going to start is with the dark ochre. That's place number 1. And what I want to do is I want to start getting the stars. and the belt. And our little slipper too. One of the things that I was thinking about earlier while I was on a walk in the park, which it's getting cold outside, so kind of glad it's getting cold outside because it makes the walks a little bit nicer. I was thinking about ways to create little shorts for these characters, little one-off stories about who they are and why they are the way that they are. One of the questions that I need to answer now too is what color do I want their hair to be? I'm kind of leaning towards black for both of them. I could do... No. Let's stay towards the black room. Okay, so I want to take the sea blue. I want to take some of my morning sky. And I want to blend the two together. That's too much water. Get some more water, thin it together. And I can start using it to draw attention to her dress. More interest, more visuals. I actually kind of like using the morning sky plus this sea blue to create the highlight colors. I should have thinned my brush, rinsed my brush out before I applied any color to the model. That's okay, because we can take some of this blue black and we can glaze over anything that we got too bright. Because as Bob Ross said, there are no mistakes, just happy little accidents. Between the folds, I really want to reinforce that shadow where the two colors really meet at. It will help draw a lot of visual interest to the eyes as well. How's that? Does that help? I feel like it does and it doesn't all at the same time. But it is showing off a nice bit of the light and how blue this skirt actually is starting to become. So I take some of that blue . I wonder what her... So when I started painting her, I think a really interesting story to start off with would be a newer initiate or a graduated initiate from a magic school. Would be a fun place for her to start. So, to reinforce the gold, one of the things that I want to do really darken down the entirety of this. I'm going to be honest with you. I really like the darkness and the ochreness of what I have here, opposed to what I have in other places. So, give me a second. I am obviously struggling quite a bit with non-metallic metal in a few ways. So, one of the ways to learn to be better about it is to do. So, non-metallic gold is usually some form of dark ochre, and yellow. So, her fish, sword hilt, and tip, and you can even see it a little bit here on the bands of this. They look pretty good. I'm not mad at them, but for this, I'm really liking how it's starting to shape up here more than it is on this. And that's a large part of why I'm streaming and why I'm painting like I am, is just figuring out what I like to do for myself and show the struggles that I'm having with everything in a similar fashion or in a video format for the whole world to see. Thank you, Fitbit. I'm aware it's time to move. Okay. So we're going to slide her to the side, let it dry for a little bit, and then I'm going to pick up this guy. So this guy, I don't really want to mess too much with his staff because I like it to be the kind of liking the colors that it is. His gemstone, yeah, I could really care less. But I can take this now sea blue, once again thinned out quite a bit still. And I can start to highlight all of the blue-black pieces that I used. And you can go quite heavy with it too. I'm primarily focusing on the upper facing bits, and I want to highlight up that piece more than anything. I really don't want to get too much in between. I'm not really concerned with being fully correct with the highlights right now and focusing on 50%. I really just want to get visual interest going over highlighting interest. Please keep in mind that I am never entering competition unless it's something for like Reddit, then I will consider it. think I grabbed the wrong color. It just made my life more complicated than I needed to. I meant to get more of this. Oopsie daisy. There we go. That's the color I was more going for. Helps when you draw from the right pile of paint. But moving up in the steps, you can kind of see that we don't need to wholly bend up, worry about like the blends of things. Good evening. Good afternoon. I'm going to stream until about 4 o'clock. And then I'm going to go do another walk around the park, get a pizza, and then come back and stream again later. I figured blue would be a fun color to play with for a little bit. Oh, goody. That's absolutely freaking hilarious. That's good. Good job. One second. Oh, 1 second. Chat. Hi. Okay. That is just frickin' stupid. Okay. For whatever reason, Battle Ready, your chat shows up on my tablet that I have up just in case I get bombarded with trolls, but does not show up anywhere else. So if it'd been there for a while, I am so freaking sorry. But what I was saying is that I'm not super concerned about all of the blending pieces just yet. And I think what I'm going to do is take this guy up this high. Also, do you like my black felt? Ah. Welcome. That's great. Do you like my black felt background, how it helps bring some contrast and you can view the colors a little bit better? It's working now. It's working very much now. Apparently, I just needed to do test, which is something that in the back of my head, I always knew I needed to do. I just never thought about having to do it now. I think a reason why is because the vertical stream is up and running over on the YouTubes. I kind of like that blue greenish cloak he's got rocking. It looks really great on the sorceress as well. All the way around. I think I'm going to call it there in terms of highlights because I kind of like how that's working out in terms of colors. Take a sip of water, dummy. Okay. Hold on. I need to move this frickin' light to the right some more. I'm tired of bumping into the damn thing. There we go. So, yeah, I'm kind of digging that a little bit. His inner sleeve needs a little love right here. Way too thin. Out of control. Come back. Come back. Number one problem when painting super thin layers. Sometimes your paint is too thin. Now, for his, this piece here, this was just sea blue. I haven't done anything to it yet. We're going to take this plus cobalt blue green, thin it down and see what happens. See if I can make something that's kind of interesting for a highlight. Or a way to make this interesting. And I can already tell that's way too similar. So we may just need to jump straight up to blue-green. Yeah, it's gonna have to be straight to blue-green. I'll come back to that though. Enjoy! You enjoy that. Okay, so now we take, whoops, my brush is nice and empty. Mm-hmm. That's never good. Never good. Especially when you're battling sickness and poor health. Is it a top floor apartment? Uh-oh. I ain't ready for that one yet. What, this one right here? It also reminds me of a story that I harassed a guy with one day. A worker I work with still. He's still employed. Essentially spent all summer with next to no air conditioning whatsoever. And he ate the cost of it and he spent the cost of it. And I asked him, I was like, why? Well, it has a heat pump and it doesn't work. I'm like, I have no idea why it doesn't work. He went on and on about how expensive it was. And I'm like, dude, that's not healthy to live in an apartment where you have essentially no air conditioning or heating. Unless you're running in like emergency heat mode. And he was stubborn. He didn't want to fill out anything for it. I was like, dude, I now have to be careful with you because what happens if you fall down or, you get hurt one day and nobody's there to check in on you because you live alone, like me. Aside from his mom that would randomly call him, no one would really know to check up on the guy because you're really quiet and recluse in a lot of senses. So he finally decided to pay for a lawyer, not pay for a lawyer, but hire a lawyer that he was already paying for through insurance, because our company offered legal advice as an insurance coverage. And the guy goes, just let me know, because I am going to utilize the minimum here, and that's all you need. And we'll have it fixed in a matter of no time. Supposedly, every time that they fixed it, it worked for a couple of days, and then get broke again. He was living on the top floor of an apartment in the south where it was 100 plus degrees in the summertime outside. And his apartment was every bit of the 90s and humid as all get out. He's walking around his house with fans constantly going on him. And he wonders why. I took an interest in his life a little bit to make sure he didn't get himself hurt. Oh, I can imagine. I used to have an ex that lived in Vegas. I don't need to imagine, I've been out there before. But no bueno. And when you're living like that every day, you can't sleep very well either. You get cranky. He went down to a public meeting and ended up having a seizure and was not allowed to drive for the next 3 months, or was it was almost 2.5 months before he was able to drive again after that seizure. So I finally saw him in the office one day, looked at him and said, so about that, you now understand why during the summer, when you were living in a 100-degree apartment, why I was constantly checking on you to make sure that you weren't gonna go poof on me. Come on, get back and focus. There we go. Okay. So I want to take the sunray, which is a high yellow, or a high key yellow, or a icy yellow, whatever you want to call it. And really, while I've got my magnifying glass down, I want to start getting this ruffle. And while I've got it, I might as well attempt to get the strings as well on the corset. That someone decided that would be a wise idea to sculpt in. I both thank and hate you, Reaper Miniatures, for that. Likewise, I could just not paint them, but then it'd be boring. And I'm already boring enough as it is. I don't need to be more boring that way. Alright, I'm going to swap. And I'm going to do this base coat really quick for this guy. Or this little cutie. I was doing the fire. I do not need my magnifying glass. Thank you very much. With the dark ochre. Why I want to start with dark ochre, I have no idea. Don't ask. I am experimenting. I want to take some of the dark ochre and golden brown. And I want to get his little wooden handle for the torch. There's a part of me thinking that the fire aspect of it, starting off with the ochre, can be made a little bit more interesting when I want to add the reds and yellows to it. Assuming I add red and yellow, I could just skip the red and yellow and just stay to yellows and oranges. Or just do oranges and yellows for the fire itself. 100 plus, yeah. That's no fun. That's no fun. I get genuinely... I get crabby when I get too hot. I know that. I'll be honest about it too. I'm gonna switch back to this guy for a little bit. And what I want to do is get to cobalt blue-green. Because what I'm trying to do is bring some interest to this blue-green, or this sea blue, which is starting to become worse than the color purple for me, because that's not even going to show up. Alright, so what if I take yellow oxide, cobalt blue-green, mix the two together? What do we get? We get something that starts to stand out. I mean, your wife would know exactly how you are feeling at all times. I don't know how I feel about this. I want to take some of this cobalt blue-green now. And I want to thin it down excessively again. I want to glaze over what I did. Let's see if that helps. I have a feeling I might need to get the color white out and use it to start getting this to shade and highlight in different orientations. All right, let it dry. Move on to the next thing. There we go. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. So I started this, and I rebase coated this in kind of a golden brown and dark ochre. I want to take the dark ochre and my yellow oxide now. I want to thin it down some. I am going to bring in my magnifying glass once again and use it as a third light. I want the light to be warm, please. And I want you to refocus, please. Thank you. Excellent. Okay, I need to turn the light off. The light's not helping me. The color isn't helping me. Let's get just pure yellow oxide. That is not helping me either. We're going to take warm yellow, my dark ochre, and mix the two together. I am truly struggling to get something that is going to highlight. Bless you, water droplet. Bless you. So that doesn't work the way I want it to work. If I do warm yellow and sun ray, I should start getting something that can start popping me in the face. So the center of her belt is starting to pop out a little bit more. Let me zoom out some. Come on. So it's kind of hard because the Yellow isn't working the way that I want it to. Take a moment, stretch my legs, stand up. Raise my desk up. So it's really hard to see what I've done on camera when it comes to the non-metallic aspects of it. If it had been larger along this frame, actually even she's not working, standing out the way she was earlier. But if I, there we go, now she's starting to line up a little bit. You can definitely see more transition in her. Which light is being the offensive light? So what if the dark ochre really jumps out really quickly in the warm yellow. Plus dark ochre. Kind of helps out a little bit. I kind of like the way that that'll end up looking. I think I like that a lot better than I like the fish that I did originally. We'll have to see. I need to put that to the side for now. And come back to the idea that I was having here, which is, let's get my sun ray again. Just kind of get this little bits and pieces of it. Okay. So I want super thin paint. I also want it to have some form of opacity. So I can pick out small details. Around her waist. And then similarly on the hat up above, I can get some highlights as well. It kind of comes cheap and dirty, non-metallic metal. Some more work to do on her, but for now, we're going to put her to the side and check in on this one. I think I need to get the skin tone corrected, but before I do that, let's take a look at his robe right there. I think that's the answer. Use cobalt blue green. And something like sunray. Super thin again. Kind of push it around parts of the miniature. And it starts to create the visual interest that I want without changing the color of the miniature to be green. Because I really want to stay on that bluish cobalt color that I've got there, that sea blue-ish color. I don't want it to be like, oh, obviously it's supposed to be green because the highlight is green-ish kind of deal. So he's got some seriously almost done stuff. I need to get his eyes squared away. Now, hear me out. What if I took my sunray yellow and I got my magnifying glass because I'm not stupid. I painted in the eyeballs be that white yellow. Trying to bring some more interest to the crystal piece itself. Using what I have on the palette. I don't really want to grab a bunch of other colors and get my palette looking like crap. I actually kind of like him the way he's turned into this situation. Okay. I think I might be putting him towards the back of the pile now. Kind of like where he's ended up. He's been a fun little paint. I'll give you that. We're just going to slide him to the side. And we're going to pick up this lovely lady again. I want to take my ice yellow, or my sunray, really. And I want to start getting these ruffles. And on top of that, what I want to do, I want to thin down this blue-black as well. And then I want to paint it for orb and blue-black. One of the things I thought about when I picked up this miniature, and both of them really, when I was sorting through my pile to paint this month, was how can I make it interesting for them? one of the things that started coming to my brain was to consider, if I could figure out a way to pull it off, would be to dot the orb up to be kind of starry, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Stretch. Correct your posture. So that squares that away. That squares that away. She is not really showing up all that well on camera anyway. He's kind of done. This little cutie could use some more blue-black and get his cloak squared away. Now, for something a little different, the inside of the fire. I want to whiten up quite a bit. So with that being a dark ochre, I'm going to take some of this golden brown, warm yellow, mix the two together. I can, but I don't like where it's going. I think it's going to need to be something darker. Also, the heater is starting, so please forgive me. It's going to be annoying for a couple of minutes while it runs. I need to recreate my office upstairs and move my entire setup up there. There's no way I could avoid this because the heat register, excuse me, is 3-ish feet away from my microphone. And the only way I can get away from it is if I move everything upstairs. Yeah. So, we can work on his cloak, bringing it up. I'm going to use a smaller brush, number 2. I'm going to take the same sea blue that we've been using. And highlight it up. Get the front part. Okay. So now, I can take my blue black again. Kind of run it into some of the darker cracks. Thank you, Fitbit. I am aware that it is now 250. But as you already screamed at me earlier today, I've reached 450 minutes of active time, which is my goal for the week. Oh, excuse me. Actually, I think I might call myself at a stopping point. And I might save my energy for this evening's as well for another stream and be hyper energized for it. I'm getting super sleepy and feeling the need of a nap. So I think I may call it here for a little bit. And I will return at my normal 6:30 time and go from there. Now the question is, what do I want to work on this evening? I don't know if I want to work on Steve the owlbear. I might want to work on some non-metallic metals, but I'm kind of burning out on it a little bit, and I should probably pause on that for some time and work on something a little bit different, because I can work on these two with her and do some skin tone and go from there. And see how it works out that way. I think I might do that and see how the day turns out. So yeah, I think that's going to be my goal. And of course, I can always work on her as well while I work on the skin tone and see where I end up with it. So, I believe that's going to... Oh, no. Okay, yeah. I definitely do need to take a break and go sit down. So, I thank you all for your time. I thank you all for tuning in. And I will see you tonight at 6:30-ish. Good afternoon, and talk later.